My name is Christian Basil. Years ago, I had an idea. I got myself a TARDIS. Took it to new places, met a lot of new people, took some great pictures, and talked Doctor Who. From Krypton Radio and the creators of the Hanging With web show, this is the legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Join me on my latest adventures and become part of the legend. Good evening, fellow Whovians, and welcome to the 1st of March. Welcome to a new episode of The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Today, in this episode, who should the Doctor meet? The chat is going to be loaded today. I saw a lot of people even chatting way before the show even started. So, historical figures that have not been with the Doctor yet. Tonight, you get to mention, you get to bring in your own say as to who and why people should, particular folks should be part of the Whoniverse out there, and you'll be surprised as to who has been part of the Whoniverse out there. We might have some special surprises today, so make sure that you're not only in the chats, but if you haven't had a chance yet, please go to youtube.com/The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Give us a subscribe and hit that notification bell, please, so that you can keep updated, and we will get to your chats. No Melanie, no Dave, so I'm running everything solely. And let me go ahead and introduce the team tonight who's going to be helping us out. And first of all, let's start off with, let's get him out here. Everybody's going to laugh at me. I'm doing this tonight. Oh, okay. Now I got to. I see how I got to do it. See, I told you, without Melanie and Dave, I am just at a loss, and everybody's going to be laughing in the chats tonight out here. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to kill some time out here to get rid of that. There we go. Let's start out with Mr. Joey Reynolds. How you doing tonight, Joey?
Greetings from the land of Mardi Gras, where everywhere else is just another Tuesday.
Now, just for folks who may not be familiar, tell us a little bit about Geek Radio America. And I see it's on Live 365. What does that mean?
Well, if you go to live365.com, type in the entry field of the search field Geek Radio America, you'll get a lot, well, not a lot, but you get a streaming channel on Live 365 that right now is featuring 4 programs on a 4-hour rotation. And this show is one of them. In fact, we're running the one that Sadie Miller. Happy belated 21st birthday, by the way.
Nice there. Speaking of nice, everybody, let's introduce the lovely Mackenzie Floor from the Right of Wands. Her book, you'll be seeing the advertisement later on today, which is the other book. The Binge Watcher's Guide to Doctor Who. You got to check it out. They've got a copy. I'm going to be razzing him to probably do a review on that book, but I'm sure it's going to be wonderful. How you doing tonight, Mackenzie?
Doing well. Still recovering, but we're doing good.
Are you feeling a little better now? Because I know you've been out. Okay, good.
Oh, yeah, much better now that we've got proper painkillers. Now I can talk as much as I want.
Okay. That's how we start out there. Oh, there we go. Tom saying, Mackenzie.
Tom!
Go away. I know, Carl. I know. No, Melanie. Well, she's busy tonight. I'm sure she'll be back next week to harass me. What? No, Melanie?
I'll do it for her. I'll do it for her.
Nice. Very good there. Speaking of very good, let's introduce Kevo.
Yo,
Your
I'll
husband's
take that.
talking more or less. And let me just say this. I'm doing a bit of an advertisement for Kevo. If you love all of these thumbnails, he does them. He does them all. Kevo, is there an email that people could get a hold of you and say, hey, you know what? I want a thumbnail.
Just kevorisse@gmail.com. One word. That's my professional email. So, yeah, it's fun. I like doing them. I do them for our own podcast. I do them for X's for Podcast, which is my husband's X-Men podcast, which is one of the top X-Men podcasts on the internet right now. And, I like making silly art, and people seem to enjoy it.
There you go. Speaking of things that people enjoy, that's probably the worst segue I could probably bring in
You're
here.
good.
Let's bring in Melina at the tail end there. Melina, how you doing? Welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Hi, everybody. Hi, Mackenzie. Hi, new
Now, tonight you've all known that we are doing a special chat, and there were a lot of people when I put out this on the Traveling TARDIS Facebook page. They were all ready, and we're going to get to actually people who have discussed. If we have time, we will actually put those entries into it. If not, we'll definitely get into the after party. But tonight, what we're going to be discussing is, you saw these nice little people out here, historical figures. Let me bring them back up so everybody can see what awesome thumbnails out there. Some of these people have been companion of the Doctor, and some of them have not. We're going to go over with this and go over your choices of who should be a companion of the Doctor, any historical figure. And we have some interesting ones tonight. Hang on one second there. Let me get to some of your chats. Hold on one second. I'd have to set that up with you, Mackenzie. We'll do that later. We'll talk about that later. But let me get to your chats, everybody. Oh, there you go. Beautiful banner, Kevo. There you go.
Tom.
PD, how you doing there, PD Rich? PD Rich from the Space Book. And I think he's also on TARDIS, so I think he helps out with that. So correct me if I'm wrong, PD. Thank you for coming out tonight. I appreciate it. And Carl, segment with Sigmund for... Oh, right. Well, no, but we're not going to get started. We're not going to get started just yet. I'm going to hide that a little bit, but I like where you're going with this,
Would be
Carl.
interesting.
And since I'm doing all the work tonight, I'm basically doing everything. So we'll go ahead and get started right away. Let me go ahead and randomly, let's just pick. Right, Kevo. There we go, Kevo.
I feel like I always get
be
picked
the
first
in line, because I did have a little surprise for you as well for your selection.
Me?
Yeah, well, I did, and I couldn't find it, and I was I tore this house up finding what I wanted to find. So,
okay,
go ahead. Start off with giving your take on who you picked, and maybe just a little bio synopsis for people who may not be familiar, which would be interesting that people are not familiar with this choice. But go ahead and tell us your pick.
Yeah, sure. It's me. I had to pick someone gay, obviously. Oscar Wilde seemed like he would have been fun, but I wanted to go with someone who I felt could be more in line with who the Doctor is. So I went with Alan Turing, OBE, FRS. He was a mathematician, computer scientist, logician, cryptanalyst. I can't even say that word. Philosopher, theoretical biologist.
Are you looking at a Wikipedia site for this?
No, I have notes. I always have notes.
I know.
I read my own vows off my cell phone. But that's like dream qualifications for somebody who worked with the Doctor. But more than that, he was a code breaker who worked during World War II and was crucial in helping the Allies defeat the Axis powers, which is amazing. And despite this heroism, he was prosecuted and chemically tortured for being gay. And, I only learned a few years ago that it was because he reported a burglary in his own home. Like, that's tragic. And he's such a heroic figure and really deserves to have his accomplishments more celebrated. They have done adaptations of his life over the years, but they've really shied away from the gay stuff, and that's really kind of important to his story. He was tortured for it. Right. And what if he had been persecuted earlier in his life before the war? We see a lot of Doctor Who stories about that, of, the things that happen in sequence of events. If somebody had been killed, how would it affect the future? So, especially with everything going on in our own country right now, with Texas trying to make supporting trans children qualify as child abuse, with Florida trying to ban LGBTQ language in schools, these things are still happening even now. So it's important that we talk about our history, the good and the bad. Like Rosa a few seasons ago, that was 3.5 years ago, and it was only today that lynching was made a federal hate crime in this country. 67 years after Emmett Till was murdered. Right. So, this is our history. These are important parts of it. And it's important that we learn and that we grow from it, too, because we have come so much further. And we need to celebrate that by remembering how far we have come in just a short amount of time.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, he also took his life in the end. Is that correct, Alan?
It's speculated.
It's speculated, okay.
But it's definitely a possibility, and it wouldn't be a surprise. That, is a devastating turn of events for somebody who was so instrumental in our victories during that horrible period.
Right. Now, here's the reason, Kevin, why I actually had some fun with this, because he hasn't met him in the TV series.
Oh, yeah?
But he has met him in the comic books.
Wow,
so
that's not even that old.
Of Time, yes. That was what I was looking for, was the Child of Time comic book that I had, and he meets the 11th Doctor, and it's been so long since I've read the comic. In fact, this is what he looks like in the comic.
Nice.
That is Alan in the comic.
That's pretty flattering.
I was looking for it so hard. I was just like, I gotta find the I'm sure it's buried somewhere in here, because just over time things do,
of course,
my Whovian and stuff. But yeah, he was in the Child of Time, and it was an interesting take too, because he I'm trying to remember, if anybody has read the Child of Time, please, just let me know about this. I'm trying to do this from memory. Alan doesn't realize, spoiler alert, that it's not the Alan Turing. He has all the memories of Alan Turing, but it's not Alan Turing. It's actually a robot. And he finds out the hard way. It was just a wonderful story. But the problem is, you had to buy all the episodes and only had the one. And I think I was given to it as a gift. And I just remember that. And I was just like, and I forgot something that was, there was a chain of events, because it was fun to watch Eleven and Alan go at each other as far as their mental, they're just mental psyche. They were just bouncing off each other. And I think there was a bit of flirting, but I think it was Amy to Alan, and the Doctor goes, "I don't think he's your type." Something to that effect. I'm trying to remember, and it was just either he was like, Amy was like flirting with Alan, but then Alan was flirting with 11. It was just like but it was it was cute. Part of the character development out there. And for people who want to know what Alan Turing looks like, this is what no, I'm sorry. No, this is the real Alan Turing. That's what he looks like in real life. And yes, arguably, we would have probably not won the World War without him. That would definitely be something that I would address to. But somebody, you should definitely look up Alan Turing, because he did this, he did the world a favor, and the world just turned against him because of who he was, and that sucks, for a better term out there. So we learn. So we learn, and we move on out there. Speaking of moving on, Mackenzie, you want to take the floor?
Sure.
You got it. Here we go. Mackenzie, tell us who you picked and why, and give us a little brief synopsis of the person that you picked.
Well, I like the idea of the Doctor actually traveling with a companion dead from history. This may actually be a very good person for Jodie's Doctor, maybe for, Big Finish. I chose Harriet Tubman, which for those who are British fans on here that might not be familiar with her, she was a huge part of American history. She was an American abolitionist and political activist. And yes, I'm reading this from Wikipedia.
It's okay. It's okay. I've done some of my best education on Wikipedia and Google, so that's fine. It's okay.
But she was born into slavery, and she was able to escape. And ironically, the number 13 here, she made 13 missions to rescue approximately 70 enslaved people, including family and friends, using the network of the Underground Railroad. Now, for me, growing up as a kid, I actually thought the Underground Railroad was literally a railroad underground. And that's not the case at all. It actually was a trail that slaves followed in order to get to freedom, which is really, really interesting. And since I was originally born in Cleveland, there is an area in Strongsville, it's a suburb. There's actually is one of the Pomeroy House actually is part of, or was part of, the Underground Railroad. You can actually go under into their area, and you can actually see where the slaves were hiding. And it's really pretty cool.
Now, let me put it this way, and Kevo, I didn't get a chance. I probably gave it too much away. Kevo, which Doctor would you think would Alan work with? Ooh. Even though I said 11. Even though those two are fun. Who else would you pair Alan with?
That's a really good question. I hadn't considered it. Probably 11 or 10, though.
11 or 10? Okay. I could see 13. And I could actually probably see 8.
I was about to say 8 too. Yeah.
Because from at least the characterization that they did in the comics, I've never, I wish I watched the movie with I almost said Benedict Cumberbatch. Wow, this is why Melanie's not here tonight. If anybody wants to hit me on the chat for that one, that's great.
Benny Batch Cucumber.
There you go, Cumberbatch Cucumber. There you go. But yeah, because of the way that they introduced Alan, he had kind of like a lust for life, and that would be such a nice pairing with 8 for the two of them to get together. But Mackenzie, who would you pair Harriet with?
That was actually, I mentioned in Big Finish, it would be Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker?
Yep, in Big Finish.
In Big Finish, okay.
Yeah.
Let me get with the chats for just a little bit out there. Okay. Hey, great choice there. I believe that's for either one of you. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm not catching up on here.
We're all
got to pick on Chris. Yeah, shush, hashtag boy. Carl Sagan would have been a brill. Also, Bill Nye.
Yeah.
There you go, Ramona. Okay, we got some scientists with the scientists out there. Carl Witzman, let's jump in there. Would have loved to have Alan Turing during the Matt Smith era, which we did. I showed in the comic book because I pictured both as rapid thinkers and talkers. I don't know if he wrote that before or after I put it up there, but there you go. There you go. And he continues, Turing was very, very poorly treated by the British government. Yes, that is true. That is very, very much true out there. Mackenzie, really? Fine. Where was that one chat? There we go. Tom, you're correct. Time for commercial break. Sure. We're going to continue our discussion about who should go into the TARDIS with the Doctor, historical-wise. We're discussing about historical figures that have not been in the TARDIS. We've gone over, let me go over just a few that I just quickly chatted, for a better term. Of course, Vincent Van Gogh, Shakespeare, Tesla. Everybody forgot Agatha Christie. I kind of forgot that real fast. Queen Elizabeth I, off with her head. And believe it or not, for a very short time, with the exception of a YouTube video that you could find that was written by a student, for a very short time. Einstein.
It was not good.
Yeah, it was just not. Yeah, and then all of and then Sylvester said that line as he walks him out. He goes, "It's all relative," and that's like, okay, whatever. Speaking of whatever, here we go, folks. When we return, please continue to stay long on, tune in, and stay safe out there, folks. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Jamie Engel, critically acclaimed author of The Toilet Papers, Places to Go While You Go, a short story collection suited to match your bathroom needs. Only have to go a little? No problem. I've got stories under 1,000 words for you. Far from poopin'? I've got you covered, with stories over 5,000 words to keep you occupied, while your latrine stays occupied. And that's not all. The Toilet Papers is endorsed by the fine folks from Squatty Potty, the stool for better stools. But don't take my word for it. See what Dookie the Squatty Potty unicorn has to say on YouTube. You won't be disappointed. Well, I've got to go, but you can grab your copy of The Toilet Papers on Amazon in ebook or print, or get an autographed copy from me at therightangle.com. And don't worry, I promise I'll wash my hands first. The Toilet Papers. You might just stay in the bathroom longer than you need to.
Oh, brilliant! It's hard to believe that in the 56-year history of the greatest sci-fi television show in the English language, there has never been a fan guide to Doctor Who. The official books might give you what they think you need to know, but only a guide written by a true fan will give you what you really want to know. Join Whovian, the brilliant Mackenzie Floor, as she takes you on an intensive journey inside the world of the first female Doctor. in the Binge Watcher's Guide to Doctor Who Season 11. Right, let's get a shift on.
Hi everyone, Daphne Lage here. Join Nita Lanning and me on the Ragin' to the Vlogs show, where we talk about everything, nothing, and all the bits in between. Looking for hour-long conversations about indie comics, social media marketing, and crowdfunding, with the occasional rant and story time? Head on over to the Ragin' 2 channel on YouTube, Mondays through Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern to join in the chat.
Hit the button.
And many happy returns. Welcome to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name's Christian Basil, and we want to celebrate his birthday today. And unfortunately, not much around about it, but he would be the person who would become the first master that we know of. I'm talking about Roger Delgado. Today, March 1st, is his 104th birthday. So there you are, Mr. Delgado. Thank you so much for bringing us the master, and just, thank you. And he was lost so tragically during the shooting of Doctor Who during the Third Doctor. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Joe, he was in a car accident. If I'm right, oof. He died in a car accident, and they just didn't know what to do at that moment.
He was, in fact, he was filming. I don't know if it was a telefilm or if it was an episode of a television series called Belle of Tibet. When he arrived, and I apologize as to where. I think it was somewhere in Turkey. Yes. When he arrived, he found out that I think his plane came in late, and he wanted to get to the shoot as soon as possible so that they can continue filming uninterrupted, because when you're filming a television series and all these delays, it all adds up. So instead of I think waiting for a limousine, he took a cab, and the cab driver was pretty reckless in his driving, and that's from what I've gathered. Of course, I'm sure there's an extra on a Doctor Who DVD somewhere that explains a lot more. But yes, if I'm correct in saying, Katie Manning, who probably might have told you this, if not already, when she and John Pertwee found out, it was just like everybody else. She said they were driving past a newsagents, and it said the headlines of the Standard said Doctor Who star dead. And so they pulled over, and they bought a paper, and they realized it was Roger, and everybody was stunned, because contrary to what people thought of his portrayal of the Master on television, he was he was an absolute kitten.
That's what Katie says. He was just he was just the nicest guy you could meet out there.
Yeah, in fact, when they were filming the Sea Devils, he was deathly afraid of the water, but he went up there on the boat, did his lines, was in character, and when it was over with, he, I'm sure he must have kissed the ground when he got back, but he was always a pro, he was always a team member, and that was what Pertwee had said. I think the breaking up the team, as it were, and that was John's death. I'm sorry, that was Roger's death. Yeah. But I think if I'm
that was the first like volley of. Yeah, the end of John's run, and pretty much that whole entourage that was working on the show out there.
The beginning of the end.
Yeah.
But just imagine if that last Pertwee story would have had the Doctor and the Master in like one final round, as it were. There were plans for it, and then when Delgado passed away, they had to find something else. Yeah.
So Roger Delgado today, if he were alive, 104, and if he was on the TV show, he'd probably kick John Sims' butt. It's like, this is what I turn out? Really? With cigar in hand and all. Just love the guy out there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. I'm here with Mackenzie, Kevo, Melina, and Joey. We are discussing about our picks of historical figures that the Doctor should come across out there. We've talked about Alan Turing. We've talked about Harriet Tubman. And without further ado, Melina, you're up next. Who did you pick and why?
Amelia Earhart. I think I'm more interested in her, like, in her childhood than more in adulthood, because that's when she had a thirst for adventure. But if any of you didn't know, she was like the first woman aviator that flew across the Atlantic Ocean, and she was also an author and considered as an activist in a way of the equality And she was married one time. She was married, and she it didn't stop her from doing her adventures, and she wanted to make it across the world. The fly across the world.
Transatlantic, I think, if that's is that the term I'm looking for? Yeah.
Yeah, she wanted to get to the Pacific Ocean, and sadly, that was, I think, was it 1937? I think 1937. That's when I think
1932 is when she disappeared.
32.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was 37 because I think 2 years later, that's when they declared her dead because obviously they couldn't find her. I think. I mean, if you want to go,
no, that's fine. Anybody in the chats, if you want to look that up real fast, put that up there. I say 32. Melina says 37.
It's 30s in something
in the 30s. Yeah, we got a bracket now.
Yeah,
37.
37.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Declared dead 39.
There we go. Oh my gosh.
Declared dead 39.
My A in history just kind of it was worth it.
No, you're fine. I just think, yeah, go ahead. No. I was just going to say this. This is an interesting take, because this is what Amelia really looks like. But believe it or not, she has crossed the universe. If anybody remembers an episode of Torchwood called Out of Time.
Yes.
Well.
And that's what she looks like. I'm like, what?
Is that who she is?
She got her hair short on purpose.
I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's who she was.
I think she's just supposed to be someone who is reminiscent of Amelia Earhart, because I don't think she actually is.
Okay.
I'm double checking right now.
Yeah, by all means.
Because I always remember her not being that. Yeah. She's a woman named Diane, but she's supposed to essentially be Amelia Earhart.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if Torchwood did someone else because they weren't going to take Amelia Earhart from Doctor Who.
Well, it could be. Well, I don't know, because I know when Amelia started going to the how do you say, aviation academy, pilot academy, however you want to define it. Her teacher was a woman. Her name was Amy.
Yeah.
Like that. It could be based on her.
And they were from the 50s, actually. They were from 1953. So it's well past Amelia's time anyway. So she could have been a classmate of hers or something like that. Okay. But they were trying to do Amelia Earhart. You're not wrong.
Trying. It needs justice. It really does. Amelia's actually one of my favorites. And the reason why is because since she was little, she was born in Kansas. And she had a sister. I think she was the oldest of the sister. And her mother, being like typical back then, dressed, they had to be girly, had to be, dressed nicely. And Amelia was very tomboy. And it's something that I was when I was little. I was very tomboy, and I liked doing a lot of things that are considered boy activities. Like, playing outside, catching insects, and just getting dirty and bruised. And that's how I was when I was little. And I think the Doctor, and I personally think that Matt Smith would be perfect because Matt Smith has this little childlike adventure heart, like the way he did with Amelia Pond when he first met Amelia Pond. So I imagine something along like that. And I would love for him to meet Amelia actually when she was a kid. Not exactly as an adult, but as a kid. Because she, like I said, she had like a sense of adventure. And something very interesting was that she did a lot of, not stunts, but she did a lot of experience. Like, I think she did something like in her house. I think it was the roof or the stairs. I don't know. She tried to slide down, and she like a roller coaster kind of thing, and she got busted completely. Like her dress got all torn, and she was all bruised, and obviously her friend was like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "I'm good. This is fun. This is like flying." And I love that about her. I mean, when I was reading her, like her childhood, that it's something like Matt Smith would do. So I think that's why I think the 11th Doctor and Amelia, I think that's I think that's why they will connect so perfectly. And I don't know how the story will come out. Obviously, I'm not a writer, but something like helping her discover that inner adventure and just showing her, like getting her into the TARDIS and showing her all these, I don't know, places and islands, and you know, because she was before she disappeared, I think she was on her way to go to one of the islands. I can't remember, one of the small islands. So it could, like, he could take her to the TARDIS, like I said, and try to, you know, take her and feel the magic, what it is to fly, and to inspire her as an adult, and not only as an adult, but as a woman, and that it's okay to, no matter what gender you are, is to embrace that adventure that is inside. If you feel it like it's inside you, you should let it out. And no matter what the consequences, because that was Amelia knew, she knew that her life was in danger, that she could have been I don't know, she could have crashed or something, a catastrophe could have happened. But she said, and I'm sorry, she said something along the lines like, it was a risk that I'm willing to take, but it's a way, like, to inspire others to how do I say, to try it. Because if she wasn't able to make it, then it will inspire others to try it, and maybe they will accomplish it. Either way, she still accomplished something big. And I think, I'm sorry, I'm babbling because I love
No, that's all right.
I don't know, I think she's awesome. And I honestly think that the 11th Doctor will be absolutely perfect for her. I mean, for the new Who Doctor, I think Matt Smith would be awesome, absolutely awesome. And especially, I just want it in the childhood. I think it would be great. Yeah.
I would even go as far as to say this, and I would probably throw 9 and 13 into the mix that she could pair up with.
Oh,
I mean, she could pair up with any Doctor.
Oh, sure.
But I would say this. I always had this like little fanfic theory that the Doctor was involved. I wouldn't say involved with the actual disappearance, but something happened in Amelia's life in the fanfic world that she had to disappear. But in disappearing, she brought on this idea for for people to aspire to look at her and go, hey, you know what, she did it, and you know, I want to do it, I want to give it a chance. So it's almost like she in an essence where she sacrificed herself to be disappeared, she blazed a trail for others to follow in that way. I don't know how you would write a story like that, but that's something I've always like pondered. Like the Doctor had to tell her, listen, you have to go, or you know, she had to go on some spaceship or go into another dimension, but trust me, you know, the legacy you leave here is what people are going to follow, and they're going to follow you to the ends of the earth and beyond. Yes. So your adventure doesn't just end here on this tiny little island. It goes further beyond through others. I did not. Great Victoria, Charles Dickens. Yeah, they're in there. Well, we mentioned them there. At least I threw them in the space in there. Get to your chats out there. I know Melanie's in here. Melanie, do me a favor. If you're still out there, why don't you give us your take? I'll throw it out there. Supposedly, the deadly assassin master was Delgado's master. I have to confirm with Ramona. Oh, you're getting credit. Carl says Melina has her facts together. There you go.
Thank you, Carl.
And Dan shows up. Yes, I'm here, and I'll calm down and let the lady talk.
Christian, there's also a comment in the chat from Christopher Chatfield, and he mentions that Amelia Earhart appeared in Star Trek Voyager. In the
She did.
Yes, she did.
Well. I was trying to put his later because he had a whole list. I'm like, we're gonna have to take this apart really bad. Probably not Marco Polo, which there's an actual episode called Marco Polo. Richard the Lionheart, Achilles. Didn't he meet Nero in the Romans?
I think that sounds familiar to even me. Yeah.
He met Doc Holliday in the Gunfighters, which is from what I haven't seen it yet, but I'm being told it is the worst Doctor Who episode ever. It is so completely borked as far as like a continuity for Doctor Who. And in fact, it starts off with the Doctor having a toothache and going to another doctor, which ends up being Doc Holliday. I'm like, you could have waited until Val Kilmer showed up.
Now I'm starting to remember that episode.
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah, we're all trying to forget it. But you know what? It's Doctor Who. It's in there.
When you mentioned toothache, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I was just like, wait on a Time Lord has a toothache. Really? Okay.
Well, they have teeth.
You can cut off your hand and grow it back, but God forbid you don't use mouthwash.
There's nerves in there.
Wyatt Earp.
Thought,
yes,
you know what would be good? I think, you were talking about that the Doctor meeting Amelia as an adult. I think, call me crazy, but I think Matt Smith will be perfect meeting Amelia as a child. And if they're gonna run a story of her as an adult, it could be the Ninth Doctor or even Jodie. I think, I don't know why. I just think for me that's perfect. Because I don't know. I always consider Matt Smith's like Doctor so childish, so adventurous, and that couldn't. If he meets Amelia Earhart as a girl, that could inspire her more, Yeah. And her as an adult, I think the Ninth Doctor would have been perfect. I mean, I don't know if you guys see it that way, but I think that's the way. I think it'll be good.
I think she has an interesting story that all the Doctors. I don't think any one of them wouldn't be able to fit into 4, 5, 6. Everybody.
She's that legendary, yeah.
She's that legendary, and she has a story behind her that can fit into any time frame out there. Speaking of time frame,
positive. She was so positive and
wibbly wobbly. This is okay.
Sorry, but she really. I think she's an inspiration in a way that is just take the risk and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of just explore the world, be an adventurous. Don't let she also went through a couple of hardships. She was broke. She was a nurse at first, and she got sick. Spanish flu, I think she got. And
Carl's right. You got the facts, girl.
I'm sorry. It's just like going. I feel like I don't know. Her and I are kind of similar. Way she had problems with sinus. So that's me. I had a problem with sinus. And it affects in the flying also. She was a nurse and she was broke. And I can't remember what other job she took, but there were a lot of obstacles, but she never gave up. She still saved money. And when her grandmother passed away, her mom back then was like, she was like her bank. And she's like, you know what? I want to take the course. I want to go to the, pilot classes. And she did it. She saved up money. She went there. She was absolutely, head on in doing that. And to know that her teacher was actually a woman, I think her name was Amy, something like that. And I think
was she a ginger?
Oh my god! What if it was?
Because she got zapped back in the time frame. That might work for her.
But I think it would be really, really cool, and it should be integrated in a future Doctor Who story. Let it be whatever Doctor. I think it would be amazing.
I'm just going to jump back in some chats because I missed over because Melanie's not here and I suck. I'll confess. Delgado died on location in, I can't pronounce that, Turkey while shooting La Clutch, Tibetan Bell.
Yeah,
I don't want to butcher that. There you go. There was something else over here. Oh, I want to welcome somebody who I have not seen yet. Oh, this is for you, Kevo. Yet it is. Alan Turing and Harry Tubman, both you and Mackenzie, are perfect choices. They were both incredible human beings ahead of their time, and I'd love to see them on the show. Absolutely. Let's see here. I want to say hi to Mark. Send me some candy for crying out loud. Don't let Melanie be the only one. There is an answer in the chat, but I'm going to go to a commercial break because I'm not going to reveal the answer, but somebody had picked a choice that one of us had picked. I also want to jump over here. William Lombard. I haven't seen you before, but welcome, subscribe, and thank you for joining us. The doctor should be Bansky. I'm not Banksy. I don't know who that is. Doing a piece of art somewhere in London.
Street artist.
Street artist there. Speaking of our lovely doctor, when will we see a regeneration episode? I don't know yet. We know that she has an Easter special. I think that's the second one, and I think the third one hasn't been released as of yet. But
that's going to be in time for the centenary celebrations for BBC, which should be later this year, I think. If I'm correct in saying, because
I can't find a date for that, but I assume like fall, maybe November.
I think they've got everything in play. We're just going to be, it's being filtered out. Speaking of filter out, we're going to go to a commercial break because I'm going to let people know somebody answered in the chat, and there is somebody that we've mentioned or will be mentioning in just a moment, I should say. When we return, please continue to stay logged on, tuned in, and become part of the legend. Here we go.
We are a touring acoustic duo crashing kitchens around the country. We go from house to house every Friday night, and we create music, we create food, a good time, we stream it live, and we do it for free. So now we're just really kind of like trying to develop it and build a community group that people believe in, then they'll help us. So we played from our rehearsal room, we played from the bathroom, thankfully that didn't catch on.
I probably played guitar in my room, not for anyone, in front of anyone, nobody heard, for probably about 10 years.
And then one Friday night, we played from the kitchen. It's the main place people want to be. It's where the food is, it's where the drink is, it's where the best lighting is. You can go to any party and I guarantee you, the kitchen is going to be popping.
Our ultimate goal, I think, would be to crash kitchens every Friday all around the world.
Author Cindy Koepp is writing on the edge. Books include Remnant in the Stars, The Loudest Actions, Lines of Succession, Mindstorm, Condemned Courier, the Yerushalayim series, and Animal Eye. Find author Cindy Koepp at CKOEPP.com today.
The massive audio Doctor Who Bad Wolf Bluetooth TARDIS speaker. That's all I gotta say, one word. Wow. It looks like it just jumped right off the screen. Here it is in all its Bad Wolf glory. Right here is the on-off switch and the up and down volume. Right here's the speaker. The TARDIS stands about 6 inches from the bottom of the TARDIS all the way up to the top where the light is. Look at the detail. Wow.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. The topic for tonight is who should the Doctor meet? This is historical figures that the Doctor has not seen yet. We've already had Alan Turing. We've had Harriet Tubman. We've had Amelia Earhart. Joey, it's your turn, my friend. And who did you pick and why? There's a reason
Abraham
why I
Lincoln.
pulled you up.
Yeah.
And I picked
Abraham Lincoln.
I picked a picture of him from The Chase.
Yeah.
Because technically he has, but not as Abraham Lincoln. So explain that.
I thought it was the Hall of Presidents.
Well, when you,
in a sense, yeah, you're right. It is kind of the Hall of Presidents.
Yeah. My choice, Abraham Lincoln, and for a very interesting reason, because he did not have a formal education. Back at the time when he was born in Kentucky, there were traveling teachers that would give him instruction, but essentially he pretty much learned everything by reading books, everything from the Bible to Aesop's Fables to Pilgrim's Progress, the autobiography of Ben Franklin, Defoe's Robinson Crusoe. He always had this thing for learning. In fact, when he was a kid and in his early teen years, his stepmother said that he didn't help out around the house or around the farm with the chores. He was just busy reading books. And finally, it got to a point where eventually over time, he did do a lot of work around the house for the, and ended up whatever money he made outside of the house, he always gave to his dad. So at least he caught on to that. But it was just Lincoln's love for knowledge, for education, for research, and the fact that when they moved from Kentucky to Illinois, he also got involved into more interesting matters when he went traveling outside of where he lived, where his family was concerned. In fact, if I'm right in saying, he was exposed to slavery, I think, in the early 1830s, when he and a few friends decided to take a job to go to New Orleans and just bring some goods by flatboat down the Mississippi River. And that's where he was exposed to slavery. So I'm thinking about all these things, and the fact that he had self-educated himself. Perhaps maybe he may have ended up meeting the doctor if he was in New Orleans, and after realizing that particular way of life, where it was not so much an agrarian society, because yes, his dad was a farmer, if I'm right in saying, but it was just the idea of taking individuals and just forcing them to work against their own will, forcing them to do things against their own will, which it's a very sad, tragic thing. Slavery. And the fact that it would possibly put Lincoln into a position where eventually over time he would end up joining the abolitionist cause, and the doctor may have had an influence on him in that manner. So maybe not so much as just traveling in the TARDIS, but the doctor landing about the same time with Mr. Lincoln, and eventually causing him to have a serious think about the things that will be going on over the course of the next 20, 30 years as America expands to the West, and as the matter of slavery is discussed. And that maybe perhaps it was a doctor who influenced him to be in such a way where eventually over the course of the next 30, 35 years, he will be forever remembered for what he did. And that was to hold the country together over the issue where the Civil War was concerned, but also just basically saying that slavery must not exist. It must not continue if this nation is to thrive.
I kind of see the doctor taking Abe off planet and seeing it for himself. Like, here's another planet as a companion. In the same way that, if you know anything about the Eighth Doctor and Mary Shelley's adventures in The Big Finish, where we arguably think that the Eighth Doctor kind of influenced Mary Shelley to write Frankenstein and just become this influential writer. But speaking of influential, I'm probably one of three people who actually like the Vampire Hunter movie.
Oh, it's fun.
It's a fun movie, yeah. But I do like that they were kind of taking the characters from historical and kind of meshing them together and making it fun. And they made it a good story. I'm just like I said, I'm probably one of three people that actually appreciate that movie. That's just me there. Dan, if you like the gunfighters, by all means, but dude, I'm like, everybody likes their own story and stuff like that. I haven't seen it in its entirety, so I might see it if I can find it. But the first Doctor had a story with Marco Polo. Yes, he did out there.
Christian, you are correct in the respects that maybe his mind wasn't made up yet in regards to the slavery issue, and perhaps maybe the doctor may have said, listen, this is not a good thing, and let me show you how this could progress over time if this is not finally just put in the dustbin of history.
And we want to say hello to Polly Poo 44 dollars. That's all there is. There. Mark Robinson says, I know Quantum Leap did not. Sure if Big Finish did any stories, but I'd like the 10th or 9th Doctor to meet Lee Hartley Oswald. What about the Doctor meeting a villain? Because Let's Kill Hitler was kind of spoofed off. But what if the Doctor had to meet somebody who was not good about history? We didn't say we've been picking good people. What about bad people?
Well, you mentioned Hitler, and if you happen to read, and if anybody's read The New Adventures, it's the second book in the Time Worm quadrilogy, as it were, Time Worm Exodus, in which the Time Worm happens to possess Adolf Hitler due to some matters pertaining to the occult, and there is a strong friendship between the Seventh Doctor and Adolf Hitler. Terrence Dix wrote the book. If you haven't read it, I suggest you do. By the way, I think my choice of doctor to assist Abraham Lincoln would be Peter Capaldi's doctor.
Yes, I thought the same. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought
That
the
would
same thing.
Very similar energy.
Melina, is that true? They found Amelia's plane a year ago?
It's about
Really?
a year ago.
I keep on seeing all these shows that we found her plane, we found her engine, we found her backpack, but they found her plane. Where did they find her plane at?
It was near, I think it was near one of the islands. I can't pronounce it. Guinea, Genua. I can't pronounce the name.
Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, I think it's around that. And there's still speculations that the plane could have either, because she also had somebody, a friend, Fred Noonan, I think it was.
Sounds about right. Yeah, he did. She did have a partner on board,
a companion, right? Like
someone
companion. And the speculation is that there's always been conspiracy theories. I think one of them was like the Bermuda Triangle. One of it is that her plane crashed and they were secluded in an island, and there were supposed signs or like SOS from Amelia, and nobody really actually knows how she died, but as of now they found the plane. It was near the islands, but in the ocean.
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha. Oh, that's right, James. Is there a Doctor Who story where we see Janis Joplin give him Ten's coat? Yeah, I do remember that in the beginning. Yeah, that he mentioned they got it from Janis Joplin. So, well, we can debate this all day, especially with the Paternoster gang.
That's a very
dark,
very dark story. There was a movie about it with Johnny Depp, but it's very dark.
Yeah, I don't know.
There was another time travel show and movie and book about it. And
Fred Noonan was her navigator.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh my
Thank
gosh.
you, Dan.
Okay,
Fred Noonan.
there we go.
But has the Fourth Doctor met Jack the Ripper? No, they did something that was supposedly similar, which was the Talons of Wayne Chiang, Joey, if I'm not mistaken. They kind of, but I don't think he's met him as of yet.
No, it was about the time of the Ripper, but no, I don't think the Doctor has met with him in any form, film, comic, novel, audio adventure.
Got it there. No, I'm not going to put it there. But there's some of the rumors. Noel from the TARDIS Zone. I'll put it up there. It's fun. But she eaten by crabs. But as weird as you say that, I think if I'm not mistaken, I thought I saw a documentary where she did land on an island with cannibals. That was the case, and
that
put your imagination there. But
one of the many conspiracy theories or whatever, just theories. I mean, they can't prove anything, but the only thing that's been proven is that they found her plane.
All right.
So,
speaking of finding planes, folks, we got a commercial break, and when we return, we're going to pay a little tribute to what's going on out there, and I'm going to save my answer into the after party. So stand by, please.
He always does this.
Kevo, shut. My show.
Jeez.
I've been told that by many women. Thank you. When we return, please continue to stay logged on to it and become part of the legend. Here we go. Final break.
You have more options than ever before when choosing a film, a television or internet series, a book to curl up with, or even a radio show or podcast. Get to know the people who are creating for you. The Hangin' With Web Show, hosted by award-winning author and journalist G.W. Pomacher, is the internet's fastest-growing web talk show series. The Hangin' With Web Show features professional, yet casual, in-depth interviews with creative arts and entertainment pros. Meet the people behind a digital revolution in creating more quality content than ever before in the history of media. Find the Hangin' With Web Show on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or simply go to www.hanginwithshow.com. That's www.hanginwithshow.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, want to pay tribute to. I really didn't know how to say this, and I didn't want to end the show this way, but we understand things that are going on out in the world at this moment there. And I wanted to pay tribute to particularly people who are not doing well tonight, our fellow Whovians. And let me introduce you to somebody who really affected me. Her name is Mari, Mari. And she sent a picture to, and I caught this picture over at the Facebook page on Doctor Who Infinity. And she is one of our fellow Whovians out there, according to the posting that is in the Ukraine. And we wish her, her family, and for that matter, everybody in the Ukraine, all of our love and support, that they make it out okay. And especially Mari and her cat, which I saw in some of the postings that she took with her. And she had a bag. I don't have the picture with me, but she did have a bag of Doctor Who memorabilia that she took with her to get out of Dodge. So everybody, we want to wish everyone in the Ukraine all of our love and support, and I hope everybody has their love and support, in, and their thoughts for the people of Ukraine. And we hopefully this ends right now, and this stops right now. And the fellow Whovians and all the Ukrainians out there make it through well. And we wish Mari, thank you for allowing me to post this picture up to our friends and fans out there, to let them know, to give a face to the people of Ukraine about the conditions that are going in. I wanted to, when all this started to happen, I was reminded of something that came up, and I posted this on the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS Facebook page. Was this one moment over here in the Zygon inversion, which was Peter Capaldi saying, when you fire that first shot, no matter how right you feel, you have no idea who's going to die, and it goes on. Now, unfortunately, I cannot post the actual video of Peter doing it from the TV show, but I did have the privilege of another choice that I've been given. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find that video. Around 2015 of November, I was given the privilege by MegaCon to host Paul McGann at what they called MegaCon Fan Days. And I was really excited to be hosting that panel. You don't know how much it meant to me, MegaCon being a very big, influential convention here in Central Florida. And I got to be chosen to host the panel of Paul McGann. We also got to celebrate his birthday, which took place just a week ago before his arrival. On that stage, and I think Melanie remembers that she's still out there, Paul, at that time, there were these things where new Who were given old Who scripts or given other scripts of other doctors to read. And lo and behold, Paul was given that speech, Capaldi's speech from the Zygon inversion. So as we close tonight, I'm going to be closing with that video for our friends out there in the Ukraine. And again, for everybody, I think I speak for everybody here. We wish you best. We wish you well, and we wish you safe. And I hope everybody comes out of this okay. And we want all of our fellow Whovians out there, not just, but from around the world. Please stay safe out there. We mean that. Whenever time I say that, please stay safe out there. Do what you need to do to take care of yourselves for your mental health, your physical health, whatever. Do what's right. Do what you need to take, because I want to see you out there. When all these restrictions get lifted out and we start moving around and seeing each other across the planet, I would love to see you out there someday. And it means a lot. So as we close this show, as we close the audio portion of this show, we're going to be fading out with Paul McGann, and we will be having the after party, which I'll give you my take on who I decided should pair up with the Doctor. But in the meantime, enjoy this video. Thank you for joining us. And from all of us here at the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, please stay safe, take care of yourselves, and always become part of the legend.
You're wearing my clothes, man. Let me see if I can see it first.
You can make it bigger if you'd like.
Yeah. What's the message? Okay. It's not a game, Kate. This is a scale model of war. Every war ever fought, right there in front of you. Because it's always the same. When you fire that first shot, no matter how right you feel, you have no idea who's going to die. You don't know whose children are going to scream and burn. How many hearts will be broken, how many lives shattered, how much blood will spill, until everybody does, until what? They were always going to have to do from the very beginning, sit down and talk. Listen to me, listen. I just want you to think. You know what thinking is? It's just a fancy word for changing your mind. Then you will die stupid. Alternatively, you could step away from that box. You can walk right out of that door. You could stand your revolution down. You're all the same, you screaming kids. You know that? Look at me. I'm unforgivable. What he is the unforeseeable. I forgive you. After all you've done, I forgive you. I don't understand. Are you kidding? Me? Of course I understand. I mean, you call this a war? This funny little thing, this is not a war. I've fought in a bigger war than you will ever know. I did worse things than you could ever imagine. And when I close my eyes, I hear more screams than anyone could ever be able to count. And do you know what you do with all that pain? Shall I tell you? Shall I tell you where you put it? You hold it tight till it burns your hand, and you say this: no one else will ever have to live like this. No one else will have to feel this pain. Not on my watch. I've been where you have. There was another box. I was going to press another button. I was going to wipe out all of my own kind. Man, woman, and child. I was so sure I was right. So endeth the first lesson. That's it, I run out of paper.
There we go. Alrighty. And that begins our after party, which I think I just ruined the party. So I'm glad you all got to enjoy Paul, and we are hoping everybody out there, again, wherever you are, Ukraine, anywhere in the world, please stay safe out there. We all love you. What are you laughing at?
I hear a cat.
Oh.
Meow.
I
Meow.
see some ears. Where is he?
No.
I saw ear. Oh, now I see a tail. Nice.
I always do have a cat that photobombs the show. Always do.
That's fine.
There's nothing like the sight of a cat's butt.
Yeah.
Yes.
The boutte. Let me run through some chats. Just to wrap up, and then I'll give you my take out there. Okay, Bram Stoker. He borrowed ideas from many vampire stories, chameleon folklore, but the idea of real vampires, like in New Orleans, which I better write to great New Orleans stories to appease Joey. There you go, because he's down there. A few trips with the real King Arthur.
That would be interesting.
I know from the TARDIS Zone official YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe over there. Whenever news breaks, he gives his take on it. There. And rumor Paul McGann to return for the animated series to be produced by Bad Wolf. which will be shown on BBC Three. Well, you heard it here second.
I
Because I'm
hope
sure
it
Noel
happens.
mentioned that on his show.
I hope it happens.
I hope it happens. I wouldn't lie. Why not the live
live
action
version, though.
There you go.
Guys.
Ramona, Magnus Greel was supposed to be Jack the Ripper, sort of. Well, yeah, they were implying that he was that. But thank you, Noel, there. The episode of the Traveling TARDIS is like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I wonder if the Doctor scores grade A in his history exam in San Dimas. No, because he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't take the exam. He'd just walk out of it.
Dang.
Oh, nigga. Okay, Becca.
Yeah.
He would just like he or she would just walk out of the classroom like, I already know this stuff. Why am I here? Nickelback, I would like to see him meet Edgar Allan Poe. Wow. Yes, I would agree. The Eighth Doctor would be a perfect fit, especially in the latter part of Edgar's life when he just completely goes. Would be a perfect fit as far as personality and dress. I loved Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Okay, we're one of the three. Thanks, Nico.
The book, I thought it was fun. It's like a fun alternate universe. It's just, I don't know. I thought it was fun.
What's that? Dan says Vlad Tepes. That would be interesting. Pair him with Peter Davison. And the thing is, we've actually had Dracula in Doctor Who, and it was good and it was bad. It wasn't what I expected, but State of Decay. We had vampires technically, so vampires are in the Whoniverse, and there was a Big Finish audio with Romana 2 and the Fourth Doctor. I think it was the Castle of Budapest or something like that. Budapest Castle. Okay, Tom, I don't know where that's coming. Oh, okay, Meow Mix, Meow Meow, please deliver. That's great. The Pandorca, the party, date pending. Okay. Got it there. Yeah, Tom, I would still love me some Edgar Allan Poe. Okay, so everybody's holding off to what I picked. Hang on a second. They're not real.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Wait a minute. Which Doctor would meet Rick and Morty? Which Doctor would we send out?
The 12th. Wow. The 12th Doctor. I think 12th. To play Rick. Oh man.
I would say 9 has to be out there too. I get it from.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
First Doctor meets Dracula of all sorts and the Frankenstein monster in the chase. Well, they were the robotics. It wasn't the real one. They actually State of Decay was it Dracula? No, it wasn't Dracula. It was the king of the vampires, if I'm not mistaken. Well, that goes without saying. All right. So first off, let me get this. We have the Traveling TARDIS picture of the day, and I went exploring this past weekend for a location that was bigger on the inside. Melina, do you have one in Puerto Rico, or have you ever heard of this establishment?
Oh, I have no idea what it is. Never heard of it.
I've never heard of this.
It's a southern thing. I know they have it in Texas. I know they have it in Florida. Buc-ee's, for a better term, if anybody knows this, and tell me I'm wrong, it's Sam's Club meets Outdoor World, and they have a baby. And that's what it looks like. It is just this huge, huge, huge place. And I know that when I posted this picture, Melanie was going like, you better have some jerky waiting for me. Well, I might. I just might. So there. But Buc-ee's, yeah, it was an interesting place. So, but it is huge on the inside. I mean, they have their whole, I was thinking that the backside was all deli. And it turned out to be nothing but a big, it looked like a deli department. It was every possible beef jerky you could have. Why? So they're not a sponsor, but I thought it was interesting. If you get a chance, it is a religious experience. Go see Buc-ee's. This one was really a hard one for me, and I just couldn't. I thought of a lot of people. And then I ended up with this.
Oh, yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Russell would do that too, 100%.
Yeah, he would. He would. That would be a great pairing. But he's just he's a big Imagineer. I don't know how an adventure would take place between them. Would he drag Roy into it too? I just like where would Roy, where would Walt go with the first? I thought of the Fourth Doctor, because if you're going to have something really like bizarre, I think the Fourth Doctor was wild-eyed and just he's just in awe of Walt and what he's about to accomplish. And Walt's going like, I don't know, I have the foggiest idea what you're talking about. I'm going to draw a mouse. What the hell are you talking about? That kind of deal. But
I like rabbits.
It's like, just don't get me started on the rabbit thing. Like I said, Mark, if you know anything about like a big warehouse store, it's Outdoor World meets Sam's Club. It's just huge. And if you've ever seen one of those like corner store Florida stores that you see on, that's attached to a gas station, you go to the gas station and you see all these like vacation trinkets. That's basically what Buc-ee's is. It's a huge store of. It's hard to explain. You have to go into it, but that was the best way I can explain it out there. Oh boy. Oh, Tom's going like, I'll go there next week if there. James says, now I want to see Rick and Morty Doctor Who mashup with 12 and maybe Roy. Jeez.
Yes, Roy.
Wow. Okay.
Like Marty, that would be so hilarious.
Rory would be so offended.
Yet it is. Speaking of authors, I almost forgot Mark Twain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why not? Why not? And a Halloween episode with Washington Irving. Okay.
Oh,
about the writing of Sleepy. Yeah. That would be so much fun. That would be. Yeah, it's a huge truck stop. I mean, huge. Yep. It is a huge. I'm not kidding. There's like. I think there was. I didn't even count it. I think there's like over 200 gas pumps, and all of them are filled. There's people always pumping gas. They're always in locations where a massive amount of people would converge. Like it's the one that I went to was just Daytona Beach. It was right at the connector of I-4 and I-95, and it was just huge. I'm like, goodness. I mean, you could get lost in the store. James says, now I want to see a Rick and Morty. Okay, yeah, we got you. I'm just gonna hear what the hell is Buc-ee's in UK terms. I can't explain it. I can't really. You have
do they even do big box stores?
What's that?
Do they even do big box stores? Yeah,
no, I don't think so.
Asda, which is I think owned by the Walton family for Walmart fame. So yeah, it's pretty much like that. Yeah.
So I would say that the Fourth Doctor. If it were my pick, the Fourth Doctor would probably pair up with him. But I could see anybody. But I need something, either that or the Eighth Doctor, where they're both dreamers and they both have a lust for life. So I would think that would be the case out there. But oh, hush, Tom. Nope, nobody wearing a mask in Florida. Not today. Second Doctor would also work with Walt. Possibly. Maybe fifth. Oh, and Edward, I'd have the Doctor meet Rod Serling. Some influence out there. There you go. Yeah. Tesco times 10 gourmet. Okay, gotcha. They do have a. I don't want to give them more of a plug. I just thought they were a fun place to visit. Fifth Doctor meet Captain James Cook when he lands in Australia. Okay. Gotcha there. Oh, all right, James. Which Doctor would meet Jim Henson?
Ooh.
8. I got to give it 8.
11.
11, I think.
Weird stuff with puppets. Yeah. That's Matt's math.
Kevo, I think you got it. I think you got that one.
What about Mr.
Who would the first, second, or... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was thinking out loud that Tom Baker would be perfect to meet Mr. Rogers. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he's considered a historical figure per se, but he did made history in television.
Yes.
So
Alicia Stern, who does Dr. Puppet, she should meet up with the Henson team out there. Doctor Who meets Ned Kelly in Australia. Need an Australian doctor, though. Fifth Doctor and Goppy Tegan pair up. Great.
Who would the early doctors meet up with, though? The first, the second, and the third? I mean, who would you think, what historical figures would be perfect with them?
Multiple figures or just one figure?
Well, at least just one figure.
And can I make a counter question to that, though? What old doctors would you want to meet current historical figures? Like, the first Doctor never got to meet Barack Obama, just as an example. But they have all of history open to them, technically.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't exist then.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Oh, that would be tough.
Yeah,
I couldn't even pull it. I was thinking like 11 meets Steve Jobs or something like that. And he would just be screwing with them. Just like, no, not that. Something that. Okay, James. All right. Third Doctor meets Bruce Lee.
Oh, that is so good.
Oh, and Tom raises the stakes. Third Doctor meets Ian Fleming, of course. Yeah, why not?
Awesome.
Elvis. I'd love to see Elvis.
Who would meet Elvis?
4.
You think?
4?
Picture 4 in that cape.
Or 5th. I think the 5th Doctor.
Yeah.
Magellan, sorry, the West Indies were right over there. Okay. All right. Lorraine says Jane Austen.
Oh, it's a good one.
Who we pair up with Jane? 13, of course.
Yeah, 13 is good.
Well, she would buck heads with it because she has that. When she latches on to like a historical figure, she latches on. She's like almost the Wikipedia of things that you're going to do great.
9.
And then there'll probably also be the 8th Doctor as well. Do you think Jane and 9?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
James says 10th was going to meet Elvis. Really?
Yeah, in The Idiot Lantern.
Oh, right. Okay.
And technically speaking, the 13th Doctor, at least in literary form, has met Elvis. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Got it there. What's the guy? First Doctor meets Albert Einstein. Same hair. that would actually be 12 and Einstein then, because his hair got poofy at the very end out there. 11th Elvis. I've got a story on that. Ramona, type it in there. 10th was going to meet Elvis. First Doctor meets Einstein, and Polly Poo says the Doctor meets Neil Armstrong before he goes to the moon. Day of the Moon. New Day of the Moon. Mm-hmm. And the second Doctor or 9th meets Jane. Oh, okay. That's responsive Jane Austen. Okay. Alrighty. We did have some people who brought in. Let me bring up that information. I'll read them off to you. These are people who, on the side, I mentioned we were going to bring it into the after party. Mr. Lewis Davis says, I was thinking about meeting George Mellies. I'm not familiar with that name, but I might also go with Orson Welles. Who would you pair up Orson Welles with? And we're talking about young Orson Welles, right? Like War of the Planets.
Yes. 8th Doctor was paired up with Orson Welles in the Big Finish story, Invaders from Mars, which was written by Mark Gatiss.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't like how that story turned out, so maybe a do-over.
Pamela Macy, we have some honorable mentions that were mentioned back. Pamela Macy says Amelia Earhart. Andrew Schneider said Rod Serling. And Sarai, I'm sorry if I butcher your name, Virgili said Edward Allan Poe. And of course, we did mention, I think one of us mentioned it, but we didn't execute it, so I'll execute it now. Brent Castile says, I like the idea of Fred Rogers. Who would we pit with Mr. Rogers?
Mr. Rogers, yeah.
Who would be the person we pit with that doc? Who would be the perfect doctor for
Baker? I think Tom Baker would be perfect.
11.
He'd really mellow out 12. I think that would be fun energy for Peter Capaldi to play.
That's true.
Mellowed Peter Capaldi. Christopher goes, War of the Worlds, Orson Welles, maybe the 8th Doctor or the 4th.
I found out who Georges Méliès is.
Who's that?
He was a French illusionist, and he was the one who directed A Trip to the Moon in 1902.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you.
So, yeah.
Thank you, James, and thank you, Kevo. There you go. Was the old-time video illusionist did the rocket in the eye of the face in the moon? I think.
Yeah. That was him.
So we're going to bring them in. Oh, they've already brought him up. I was really disappointed. This is Joey, help me out. H.G. Wells. It was a horrible
Time Lash.
It was a horrible take on H.G. Wells. It was. They made him look like an idiot, and I was pissed. Yeah. They just really just made him look stupid, and I was just like, I think the Doctor was supposed to be influencing H.G. Wells, but the way that they did it, they made him a joke, and I just didn't really appreciate that. I thought,
well, it was a young H.G. Wells.
Yeah,
and you have to admit, I mean, before we have the more modern, mature, well-renowned H.G. Wells, I mean, you gotta start somewhere, and in this case, he picked him up when he was far much younger, and he was pretty much, I understand where you're coming from, though, but yeah, I can understand the Sixth Doctor's reactions, though, considering, I mean, when you're imagining all these weird and crazy things in 19th century England, and all of a sudden this blue police box with that's bigger on the inside shows up out of nowhere, and
right.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't we all be gobsmacked to the point of 17-year-old teenagers who are so obnoxious?
No, I get your point. I just it just didn't work for me. That's I know. It just didn't. It was a really. I understand what they were doing. They were going like, oh, he's young and he's maturing, and eventually, when he finally writes all these great stories, he's a better person. But I think they just overdid it in Time Lash. I think they could have toned it down just a little bit there, because it kind of, his obnoxiousness, I was like, I don't want him in the TARDIS. And even at the very end, when the Doctor's going, I'm going to die. The Doctor warns H.G. Wells, is like, what are you doing here? Because he stows away in the TARDIS. Everybody, spoilers from 1980s. H.G. stows away. He's in the TARDIS, but because the Doctor is thinking he's making a sacrifice in the TARDIS, he's about to. What was it? He was putting himself between the rocket or something of the planet.
I think that was a case. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It was something that he was using the TARDIS as a shield against the planet he was protecting. And then all of a sudden it blew up, and he's explained to H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells is being like heroic and stuff, and like, yes, we're doing it in the face of the enemy. And the Sixth Doctor goes, we're going to die. And it's finally sinking into H.G.'s like, oh, I didn't really put that in perspective, because we're going to die. I'm paraphrasing, but this is, and then it's finally kicking into HG. It's like, well, I'm not the hero that I really thought it was going to be at this point. So, Ramona, ninth for Fred Rogers. Ninth would have war baggage to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Good point there. Dan says, George was the maker of the oldest version of Verne's A Voyage to the Moon. The image of the man in space and rocket ship in his eye is iconic. Mark says, second Doctor to meet Vince Lombardi in The Missing Trophy.
Second Doctor. What this is behind me here. I'm probably thinking. Come to think of it, I never really factored out which Doctor would meet with Lombardi. I'm probably thinking second Doctor, perhaps, but maybe Matt Smith would be a little bit. Well, no, unless if he wasn't the coach of the Packers, but rather a college boy at Fordham as one of the 7 blocks of granite. Yeah, that could be the case. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Has the Doctor? I'm trying to remember. Has the Doctor met a sports figure yet?
Oh my word!
I don't think he's actually.
Good question.
I don't recall.
Not in a significant enough way. If we're all scratching our heads.
Yeah, I
there's
know.
a lot of interesting history.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to think. Has he ever met a sports figure? And then it's just like that's not even. That would be interesting to come across out there, sports figure. Now, here's something that could be really a turn of events. So Polly Poo came up with this. How about an actual writer for Doctor Who in the world of Doctor Who? We bring in Douglas Adams.
Yeah. That would be nice.
And there would be a nice little take on Shada and going like, you don't want to finish that one. Trust me out there. Orson Welles wearing a Saturday Night Fever white shirt in Time Lash comedy gold, or H.G. Wells. There, yes.
I was wondering.
Yeah, it was bad. Who would we pair up with L. Frank Baum from Wizard of Oz? Who would be
great one?
Who would we pair?
Just because there's an artwork out there with 11, I gotta say 11.
I also love the idea of 13. She gives me huge Good Witch / Ozma vibes, and I love that.
Sixth Doctor.
I was about to say the same thing. He would look at that coat and go, I think I can make a story out of that.
Who is this fairy man?
It was, and I could see him being the influence to the wizard in some form of fashion. The guy that was hiding in the blue box as the wizard was hiding behind the curtain.
I love that.
This would work. And he, how Colin Baker is like big and bombastic and everything's over the top. That would be so. What do we got here? Tom says French writer Arnold Golopin. He wrote Dr. Omega in 1906. Anything, Joey? Anybody gonna meeting the first Doctor?
Oh my!
I don't know.
Oh, that's right. Yes, Dr. Omega and Jean-Marc Lefisier, who wrote the program guides back in the late 70s, early 80s. He expanded upon that and even wrote a couple of original fiction for Dr. Omega. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, good thinking on that, Tom. I never thought about that. Yeah, and yeah.
Yes, well, yeah. According to the third Doctor, yeah, he is a scarecrow.
Yes, and Pertwee's Doctor looks fancy pants. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Alrighty, and I think I finally caught up with the chats. Which is where Melanie would go, okay, he's running the chats. All right, start going nuts. Everybody post something and no one cares what it is. I don't care what it is. Just keep posting. These were all great ideas. These are all great stuff. And I'm sure at the end of this, what was that? I had Charles Martin as Hugo in the story I planned to write. Is that Charles Martin from the Javelin?
Yes.
So?
Oh, yes, Charles Martin. Oh, yes, very lovely. I've known him for 35 years, so yeah.
Mark, I thought I talked to... Let me check back. I'm sorry.
There was some second comment about the Muppets, I think.
Hey, Tom, how about Charles Martin as a Muppet?
Oh, there you go. Didn't Angel turn into a Muppet? So which Doctor would make the best Muppet?
Oh, okay, fair.
Oh, my God.
Because you can't say like 11. His physicality is what makes him.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to actually throw this out there. Since maybe some of them cannot physically do it at this moment, why not a multi-Doctor story as Muppets? They all end up on a planet, and now they can do their voices, and they would have these Muppets. As opposed to the Doctor, would end up on some planet where they've been muppified or something like that. But I would think that would be the case now.
If you've heard of a television series called Spinning Image, it was very popular in the 80s. They decided to do a reboot, I think, for in the past few years. That would be perfect for that. That would be. There's even a few Spinning Image Muppets done in the likeness of Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy. In fact, I think the Spitting Image puppets of Sylvester and Sophie Aldred as Ace graced the cover of a Doctor Who monthly like 30 years back. But yeah, that would be nice.
Gotcha. He is a Muppet, me being one. First Doctor to meet Gary Gygax.
Yeah, Gary Gygax.
Yes. Yeah.
Who's that? I am so sorry.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Creator of D&D.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Doctor accidentally, does it have to be the first Doctor? It could be any of the Doctors accidentally taking Gary into the world of, that would influence him. It's just like there are these reptilian monsters that fly on this planet, and he's
a
just
multi-doctor story where they just play D&D.
Exactly. Oh my God, that would be so outlandish. Christopher continues. You know how on the time tunnel in the 60s, Doug and Tony landed on the Titanic in the pilot? What if the Doctor landed in, say, another great historical disaster? Are fixed points, and he would meddle in history to even save one life?
Yep. Fires of Pompeii.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I said this. If you remember back to Rose, and this was just a theory. Remember when? Who was the guy? I think was it Cliff.
Clive.
Clive. Thank you, Kevin. Clive. He had all this information on the Doctor, at least as far as we know, the Ninth Doctor, and the selections were the Titanic, Krakatoa exploding, and the assassination of JFK. Yeah, and this was my fan theory. After he did what he did to Gallifrey, he was trying to get a handle on the moment because he couldn't conceive what he just did. He thought he wiped out the Daleks and his own people together and caused this rift in the universe, that caused all this to happen. So for him to get a handle on the moment, he went into Earth's history and looked at the most damning displays, the Krakatoa exploding, the Titanic, things that have influence. And remember, he saves that one family off the Titanic. He convinces one family to get off. So I was always thinking this was his way of coping with what just took place.
The loss, yeah.
So that was my fanfic as to why those three events came up, and I'm sure there were more. That's just me looking at it, but I think that was how he got. And the question was that I've always posed, and I'll pose this to anybody here on the chat. When did he pick up his moniker back? Because remember, he wasn't the Doctor, and he forgotten in the Time Winds. He forgot that he did everything he did with the other Doctors to save Gallifrey. So when did he pick up the title back? When does he finally say, you know what, I think I'm the Doctor again? When he had that moment with his other two selves. It was within the Time Winds, so he couldn't remember that. The other Doctors mentioned it. So where does, in natural existence of his ninth incarnation, does he say, I'm the Doctor again? Because he picked it up. He called himself the Doctor again.
When he met Rose,
When he met Rose, or could have been before that?
No, I'm saying
it was yeah.
Yeah, we know he picks up the moniker, but when was that moment he says, I'm the Doctor again? In his ninth incarnation. And I'm sure Big Finish is doing prequels, and the one that the first episode that came out, God, I forgot, it was the
Ravagers.
The Ravagers, yeah. He meets a companion. At least it was a companion before Rose. She's a cool companion. I can't remember her name, but she was an awesome companion. He had the moniker again. He was calling himself the Doctor. So, yeah. Oh God, James, Christian's 9 theory is interesting. Do you think maybe he regretted saving the Titanic family? Wonder why he was reluctant to save anyone from Pompeii. I think that's the conflict of the Doctor. When you are the space god and you have control over time and space, and you have that out of place moment, which he had in the Time Lord Victorious, in the planet of Mars, where he thinks that the laws of time do not apply to him. Then the laws of time went, no, they apply. We're putting you back because you are a Time Lord. Because he finally was getting to the point in his life where, I'm saying goodbye to everybody, but now nobody can pin me down. The Time Lords are gone. Let me go ahead and, make things right. And the moment he steps off the curb, he got hit. And time reminded him of what he was a lord of, but he doesn't control it.
Yeah. I'm also reminded of 2 separate incidents. First Doctor, the Aztecs, where he tells Barbara, you cannot change history, not one line. And then part 1 of Time Flight, just after the events of Earthshock, where Tegan is imploring the Doctor to go back to rescue Adric, and he says that he could not. He wasn't able to.
Oh, no, Noel brings up a good point when coming. So, well, he did save a family, but remember, it was at, I don't want to say
Donna
coercion.
begging.
I don't want to say coercion because that's a bad term, but it was at the mercy
She
of.
begged.
I think there were. I know what you're saying, Kevo, but I think there was a lot more to it than just begging.
Well, to his decision, sure, but like she literally physically begged.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to say coercion. She begged him to save one family, and I think he understood the principle. But remember, we're the audience is the companion. Just save one family. Who cares? Whatever family. And I think had he been alone, of course they would have died. But Donna gave that one influence to him to say, hey, just save one life or save one family. It doesn't matter who, just save somebody.
Yeah.
And that was the spark that did it. But I think, Noel, if he were alone, he wouldn't have done it. I think he would have ran off.
Yeah.
He could have and it served for a good purpose anyway, because was Torchwood really? Peter Capaldi's was there, and I think Russell who confirmed it, that he's like the
descendant. Yeah,
descendant. Thank you. It was a descendant of the
Achilles.
the family. Yeah.
Right.
Of Pompeii.
Wait, who was?
Sure.
The 12th Doctor meets Bob Marley. Have a jam session before Bob Marley.
David Bowie.
Just a whole concert series for 12. Could we just get that?
The 12th Doctor meeting David Bowie.
Marley wasn't
just like a series of
assassinated. He
music
died of
videos.
cancer. Yeah. Sorry.
What?
Marley wasn't assassinated. He died of cancer.
He was shot. I remember he was shot, but he didn't die.
But he didn't die of that.
He died of cancer, right. Could you imagine that? Now I'm having this idea. Remember the fish tank scene where he brings in the tank, he's driving. Could you imagine if he had an entourage behind him? If he had Queen on there and David Bowie. He's I brought my friends with me.
My super friends.
My super friends with me. We just wanted to have a jam session. Theta Sigma, and it is his academy name and number. Yeah. That's the only thing we know name-wise as far as the Doctor's concerned. That was brought in by the Key of Time, which was a really weird concept.
Remember me at a Gallifrey. Yeah.
Remember the meeting? He was cool. I wish they would actually bring back Drax. Is that his name, Drax?
Yeah, the actor who played him passed away, though. But
no, yeah, he's a Time Lord. He can do it. But I would just
I know.
He's one of many Time Lords. You know, Omega. Got Rassilon still floating about out there. The Ronnie, Romana, Chancellor Flavia. I meant Drax was always one that I thought they could always come back and explore because he was just a one-off, but he meant a lot to the Doctor during that time, and he knew a lot about the Doctor. That was great. Oh no, I agree. If Donna wasn't there, he would have killed the Arachnos Queen and left the family to die in Pompeii. That was what was great, I think, about that dynamic, because again, that was the buddy, to me. Because somebody had to put the Doctor back in his place, and that's what the companion does. It's kind of just refocus the Doctor when he or she loses it at that moment, that they forget that they're the space god, they can do anything they want, and go, no. There's laws to it. And I think that was the one case where Adelaide, who was the woman from Space Station Bowie, where she stood up to him, but it wasn't enough because it wasn't Donna. It was that's my theory on that, is that she wasn't enough influence. She was a big historical influence, but wasn't an influence to the Doctor enough that she goes into the house, does what she needed to do to fix everything, and the Doctor, I effed up. That's right. That's right.
But could anybody who could put the Doctor in his place better than Donna Noble? I mean,
I'd say Sarah Jane has.
Well, yes, but I mean, someone Sarah Jane could do it in one way, but Donna Noble could do it in such a manner where she's Well, I mean, Catherine Tate just was just hit one out of the park.
Well, she's very colorful. She's very loud and she's very present, but she also comes with a baggage because she underlining doesn't feel she's worth it, and I think that makes her even stronger. Not in a bad sense, and I'm probably not putting my words together that I want to, but I think it gives her a bit of a strength that she's not going to settle for, I can do better.
Makes her fight harder.
To fight exactly, Kevo, to fight harder. Even though I don't think I'm worthy. That doesn't stop who I am and what I can be. But
it's not a matter. It's not a matter of succeeding. It's a matter of surviving. It's one thing if we're taught as children that you can do anything in life. It's another thing that we're taught that we're nothing. And it's one. So I mean, to succeed is to have that knowledge, that strength, that encouragement from our elders. But to survive is okay. Let me just live through this right now, and then after I'm done with it, I'll deal with whatever comes afterwards. So they're not really given that opportunity to know that they are important, that they are special, that they do mean something in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Some of Dr. Jams with Miles Davis. Yes, I've always considered it one of the things that the Seventh Doctor, especially later in his life, the smooth jazz doctor, because he just loved smooth jazz. That was it, and they kind of. I'm fine with it. They didn't do anything with it. Did he play an instrument? I don't think the Seventh Doctor played an instrument.
I could see him on the saxophone.
Spoons.
The spoons.
Yeah.
Tom, those were still on Gallifrey. What Time Lords were off-world are still out there? That's a question, Ramona. I mean, they got so much content. I just wish they could... and where are those Time Lords? And why not have a new set of Time Lords out there that could challenge the Doctor or, be doing their own thing? It's like, you were an influence, Doctor, so we left Gallifrey and we did our own thing. It turns out his influence or her influence could have messed things up. They don't have the moral compass as the Doctor does. I mean, there's so many things you can do with the Gallifreyans. Leela, who we know is stuck on Gallifrey somewhere, possibly fought in the time where Big Finish has anything to do about that. What about the butterfly effect through in Pompeii, for example? Though, as in Father's Day, if a life is saved, it's a life that shouldn't be there in the world. What about the ripple effects of that? If the Doctor hadn't been there to save them in order, the events would be as they should have been. I don't know. Because remember, the Doctor has said it throughout the Doctor's life in some form or fashion. I could at least know that 10 and 12 have said it, and 9 has said it to. I've seen, I know I have a view of the world, the universe that you don't have. So that's whether that's been like the Mary Sue excuse so that the Doctor can do what they need to do is another thing. But the perspective of the Doctor we could never encompass, especially if you remember the scene where the Ood are singing. And he finally releases that into Donna's head, what the Doctor can hear. And she starts to break down and start crying. And she's going like, that's going through your head? Us mortal humans could never encompass what's going through the Doctor's head at most points. And it probably would kill us. So that was just a small example from when she got to hear the Song of the Ood. Ian, ignore what Chibnall has done because RTD will. Doctor Who BBC ends on Whittaker's last episode. New Bad Wolf era begins starting with the 60th. We'll see what happens. No, we'll see. I'm sure that it's going to be a turn of the page, but we'll see what happens. What comes before and see what comes after. There's still members of the DECA that are still out there. I would also say the CIA, and I've been talking this whole time, haven't I? If anyone wants to jump in, please. I've always wanted to see what happened to the CIA, Joey.
Oh, the Celestial Intervention Agency?
Yeah, what happened to them? They were supposed to be the Captain Jacks of the of the Time Lords, if we're going to mention it appropriately. It was basically that team that the Time Lords go, you fix that, but we're not going to get involved. And that essentially in Big Finish, they're back. They're challenging the third Romana every so often, just like, but and the third Romana uses them was like, I don't want to get involved. She basically sends them out there.
Yeah, you've just answered your own question then.
Okay, well, no, I meant in the new series. I'm just curious where that. The monk, Professor Shada, Tibetan monk Ronnie, Omega Ace. Yeah, if you want to follow that path that Ace became a Time Lord, Jenny, Valyard, Master, Missy. Mark, were you just going to pull up Google Time Lords and here we go? The Master, Missy, Romana, River Song, all the Time Lords. Yeah, and that's a good question. Whatever happened to the Ronnie, who was a great start? Mark of the Ronnie was excellent, and Time of the Ronnie just killed it.
When Missy came out, I was so certain that was the Ronnie. I don't know.
Everybody did.
Yeah.
Everybody was hoping that was the Ronnie.
Yeah. There was an independent production from Bill Baggs Video, an audio drama that was called "The Ronnie Reaps the Whirlwind." Kate O'Mara.
I actually heard that.
Yeah. Of course, we know that she sadly passed away, but I don't know. Has Big Finish I think Big Finish did recast. Yeah,
they did recast her. But I don't know if it's supposed to take place after Katie or if she's a prequel. I'm assuming it's it's after, but and nothing against the person who plays that. I can't even remember. It's like Syllabon something.
Siobhan.
What's that?
Siobhan, maybe.
Siobhan something. I can't remember her name, but she plays the Ronnie. But it's just like it's not Katie. I don't expect Katie, but I was just like, there's an essence. Let's just like the Doctor Romana. There's like an essence that kind of flows through all of them, and it didn't catch up to her for me. But I could be totally wrong there.
No worries. It's almost 8 o'clock, isn't it?
It's almost We've been I've been talking the whole time. Everybody in the chats there, I want to thank you so much again. Please stay safe out there. But the bugs questions are the Daleks and the Cyber Time Lords now both have regenerative powers. I will not go there. That's another episode.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to say this. Somebody had mentioned and said, what good are the Cyber Time Lords? They were just sitting there doing nothing the whole episode. It's like, I got it. But anybody have any last things before we go ahead and wrap up this episode?
Geek Radio America on Live 365. Listen to it. Go on there right now if you care to. And one of the shows that's on there is The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. And we have our interview with Sadie Miller. And I'm planning to get one up shortly, which would be the one with Terry Malloy.
And because I started everything earlier today with a book, this is the book that he was talking about. This one.
Yay. Again, join Kevo Risse over at Husbands Talking More or Less. Join them on his podcast. Where can they find you there, Kevo?
Over at the Cage Club Network. They have a lot of really good shows over there, including our other show, X's for Podcast, which is an amazing X-Men show. And go check us out, cageclub.me.
And Melina, where can people find you?
Sorry, my cat is distracted.
I know. I was having too much fun watching you going. No. No.
No, it's just like he's just very. ¿Qué pasa? Vete. He's like he almost knocked out my lamp, and it's the only light I have, and he's very. What's the word? I don't know how you say it. Calling attention. Needy, whatever.
Needy.
Needy.
Sorry about that. Well, I have a YouTube channel. It's under Melina Vader. I have no idea what I'm gonna do with that channel. I always say the same thing. I always thought about doing some live streams or videos of some sort. So I do have plans, but I don't know how to start. You can also find me with Noel. He hates it when I say that, but I say anyway. Noel in the TARDIS Zone on Wednesdays. Wednesdays, if you're a fan of Cobra Kai, we're doing a Cobra Kai watch along. So
okay, cool. And they do the watch alongs. They do reviews of Doctor Who as well.
Yes, we do. Yeah, there's I think the classic Who on Saturday and New Who on Sunday.
Okay.
And right now, we're just participating, or I'm part of the Cobra Kai panel.
Gotcha. And for those of you who are watching the TARDIS Zone official YouTube channel, you can find it up. Just pull it up over there. And as you can see at the bottom, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have thank you for your help, and thank you for subscribing to us. We've actually cleared out 1,800 YouTubers. We are 1,800 subscribed right now and still climbing. And let me just check one other thing, because our Facebook page was at the precipice. Is that the word I'm using?
Precipice.
Precipice. I'm trying to pull it up, but my screen has just froze. So I may not even be able to shut down the show at this moment.
That's why you need to have a backup of a backup of a backup.
I know. It's just, there we go. We're back.
Noel. Noel.
In any case, all right, Tom, it's time for Superman and Lois. All right, I'll thank you all for joining us. We'll be back next week. We're at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard, 3 p.m. Pacific, and 11 p.m. UK. Thank you, Kevo. Thank you, Mackenzie, Melina, and Joey. And thank you all again. Please stay safe out there wherever you are. Take care of yourselves. Thank you for joining us, and always become part of the legend. Have a great day, folks. And my screen froze, so I'm stuck.
Go all night.
Melanie, you're gonna have a fun night tonight looking over all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Have a great night.